1, 2, 3, 4. What's up, people? This is Dan from Guitar from the Heart. And today, I got out my beautiful acoustic guitar. Sorry, acoustic guitar. You're all dusty and everything. I haven't, played you for many months. I'm so sorry. Honestly, I haven't played this thing for quite a while. Man, I miss it. Now that I played it a little bit, I miss it. I miss strumming chords. In this video, I'm going to show how we can move one finger while we're playing chords that we already know to get more chords and to get more sounds and to make more sweet music in the background or on whatever we're playing. I'm assuming you are familiar with the old G chord. So, I'm doing a regular G chord, right? And basically, this is middle finger on the G of the E string, index finger on the B of the A string. Then we're playing D and G. And then over here on the B string, we got the 3rd fret, which is a D, and then we got the G again on the E. So that's the voicing that I'm sure you're familiar with. If you're not, welcome to probably the best sounding G chord on the open chord voicings. And the concept here, and I've shown this before, but again, I think it's really worth it to take a look at this again, because, we could get such gorgeous sounding stuff just by moving one finger around. So basically, a general rule I would say here is you don't really want to move your root note too much, right? Because you're playing a G chord, you want to keep it as a G chord. But what I like to move around a lot is my 3rd, and that's what I did in the opening intro there. So basically what you do is what we do, and let's get a closer shot here. Better shot here. So what you want to do is take your index finger here, which you're playing the 3rd. Okay, root 3rd. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your index finger here, which is playing the 3rd. And if you know your theory a little, if this is the 3rd, the 4th is one note up in the major scale, G major scale, and then to get the 2, you can play an A, which is just the open A string. So what we can do is we can alternate between the 3, which is what we're playing when we're playing the major chord, the root 3rd and 5th, right? So we're going to take that 3rd and we're going to alternate and color that chord however we feel like, based on a moment of inspiration or whatever. I'm going to take that 3rd and we're going to move that one finger around just one note over to play the 4 instead, or to play the 2. So like I was doing in the intro, basically I just took my one finger, picked it up, and that gives us a different flavor, right? And then I hammer back onto the 3rd. And then what I do is as I'm playing the G chord, I slide my finger up here, the 3rd, I slide it up to the 4th underneath here. I just played that one note. But what I do is I strum the chord, and then while it's playing, slide up that finger. See what I'm doing? So there's the hammer on. There's a slide. And then what we can do is just basically play the C chord, which is really a C add 9 chord, which is the same G chord, but we're going to move the notes down one string, the top 2 fingers, and then I do the same exact movements. So like this. So say I'm on the G. I just take these two fingers and move them down and play a C chord. Because my root is now a C. We're not playing the top string. We're just playing starting from the fifth string down, and we're gonna play the C. We're gonna play the E here on the D string, and then we're just gonna play all the same notes we were playing on the G chord. And then I'm doing the same exact movements again. And then finally, when I'm coming down to the D, the last chord, it's a D chord. I play a regular D chord. And a D chord, this happens to be the third, the F sharp. Okay. Because the notes in D are D, F sharp, A. So this is the note we're gonna play with. By moving this one finger over one fret. To G, we get a different chord, or moving it down to the open string, get a different chord. So right there, I just played the D and I picked up my middle finger, right? It's kind of hard to show, but I picked it up, right? And then you could hammer on. And then if I want to get the move it up one, I could just use my pinky. Oh boy, that was a lot harder to show than I thought it was going to be. Let me recharge myself a little bit here. A little bit of theory stuff before we wrap up this video. Basically, what we're doing here is very simple. We're taking the third, because a major chord has the root, the third, and the fifth, starting with the major scale. If you're starting with the major scale, you have the notes of the major scale. You play the first note, the third note, and the fifth note. That gives you a one chord, okay? So like when I switch to the C chord, I'm playing 1, 3, 5. That will be starting from the C major scale, for example. And when I play a G chord, starting from the G reference point of the G major scale, 1, 3, 5 will give me the G major chord. Now, once we have that major chord, all we're doing is we're taking that third and we're lifting our finger to play the 2, or we're sliding it up to play the 4. So basically, we're just altering the 3, okay? When we play the 2 instead of the 3, we get what's called a sus2 chord, or add 2 chord, or sometimes they call it add 9. It depends. It really depends on who you're talking to, and it really depends on the context or maybe the voicing of the chord and whatnot. But basically, it's a C major where we're playing a 2 instead of the 3. Okay, and then if you do the 4, it's a C sus4 instead of a C major. Same kind of concept. Now you should study and gain an appreciation of the theory, because it allows you to do more stuff. But I'm more interested in what, I get to hear when I move my finger around. And when you play around with those 3s and you move to the 2 or the 4, you get some really beautiful sounds, and you can embellish your chords. You can alternate between the major chord and those alternate versions of the major chords, kind of like how I think about it, just by moving my finger. And it just creates something that's a lot more interesting to listen to in the background than just playing, a C chord, the regular major chord all the time. Or now, especially like if it's just you playing, you're the main instrument in the background, that becomes really helpful, cause like I remember there was a time, it's actually been quite a while back now, but at some point, I was just starting to go to a new church or whatever, and the pastor found out I played a guitar. He's like, "Why don't you play guitar?" And long story short, there were some other musicians there, but with time they left, and I kind of like found myself pretty much by myself with the guitar. And so I had to learn a lot of stuff to be able to hold it down with just one instrument and some singers. And this really helped me out. So if you find yourself with just one instrument, then it creates more opportunity for you to bounce notes around within the chord and to create a cooler vibe than if you're just playing the one note. So all of those things being said, I mean, this wouldn't be complete without adding some lead guitar on top, right? The last thing I want to say, if you want to play around with it a little more, and I've shown this in another video, I'll put it in the, I'll put the little thing there so you can click on it if you want to check that out. It's basically, if you want to create other juicy sounding chords from existing chords, you can play around with the root note, but not the root note, but an octave up. The 8, or more specifically the 7 and how it relates to the 8, and that will give you even more options. But to me, the cooler sounding one is when you mess around with the 3. So anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Play the guitar from the heart and have fun with that. 1, 2, 3, 4.